Hello.
Hi, Mr. Banderas. How are you?
I am choking with a bagel right now, but I'm going to be okay in like 3 seconds.
That's such a
Oh,
coincidence because the second that she called me and I picked up her phone, I had a mouthful of food too. So we're in the same boat. I love this movie.
Thank you.
First of all, what I'm curious about from you, it's been about 20 years since you've worked with Pedro.
Right.
What does he inspire in you?
A lot of things. Pedro has been probably one of the most important persons in my professional life, and even in my personal life too, as a friend. You know, he gave me always unbelievable lessons. If we go back to the 80s, of course, you know, just to understand life and this profession in a totally different way, with the path that we follow in those years, breaking all the rules of Spanish cinematography and getting into places that nobody did before, not only just in the issues that he was treating in his movies, but also in the narrative processes that he used to tell them. What is an incredible satisfaction is just to find out that 21 years after we didn't work together, he continued being the same guy, that he essentially didn't change. He continues pushing the boundaries of himself, his personality, and turning the wheel a little bit harder. That he is not playing for mainstream audiences. That he's not trying to think about the box office. That he's just doing his thing always. And that in our days is kind of priceless, man, because everybody take out of the movies the peaks and lows and try to make things that are very eatable. And Pedro is not about that. It's not about that, and that is actually a lesson in itself. You know, the purity that he travels with all these years. And then you may like the movies or not. That's a different deal. It's just the way that he confronts, you know, everyday life and movies and you know, art in general. You know.
And he never compromises his own vision. I mean, you can see just frames of a film by Pedro, and you know it's his film. And I'm curious, as an actor performing for him, what is unique about the way he directs actors?
Well, he's different to anybody I worked before with. You know, it's just different. He owns completely the set. He's the leader, not only just of the acting, but of every chief of department, from the colors of the walls to the type of lights that he wants, the music, art direction. Everything is totally controlled. He gets really, really picky about all of these elements that he's using in his movies. And as an actor, also you receive the wave, you know, of a very strong opinion of what the character should be. And so it was like this time, you know, because on paper, when you read the script for the first time, and beside that, I was surprised, I laughed, I got scared, I got many different feelings that actually are very, very similar to the ones that audiences that are watching the movie these days are having, you know. The first intention when you see a character that's a psychopath is just to go big with him, you know. And he said, no, we have to actually keep him very economical and very, very, very laid back and very cold. So we, from that moment on, that we made those decisions, and he exposed them to me and gave me all the reasons to do so very clearly. It's almost like working in the world of quantum physics of acting, in little details, in universes that are very imperceptible for maybe other directors, but it's the world, the little details, in close-ups, in the way that you move your hands, in the way you walk, in the way that you move your face. It's everything. What you have to do as an actor is just to try to make that amount of information and data that he's giving you into something believable and as much as possible natural, in a world that actually is not natural, because Almodovar described worlds that actually are very similar to the world that we live in, but is slightly off.
Yeah, and the worlds are very lush and lurid and kind of delightfully deranged that he creates. And I've always wanted to ask you this, because I've heard in previous interviews with Pedro that he said that he greatly admires the work De Palma, and they have a similar kind of style, and you've worked with both filmmakers. Do you see a similarity between the two?
Between who? Pedro and who?
De Palma and Pedro.
Oh, De Palma. Yeah, well, yes, in a way, there is also... but think about something. I mean, De Palma is already very attached to Hitchcock. And I think probably that is the source of both directors being close in a way. But, the interpretation that they do of the same thing, of the same source, may be slightly different. But definitely movies like Body Double, Dress to Kill, movies like that in the Brian De Palma department, they have something to do with the universes of Almodovar in a way. But Almodovar also makes references to some other directors, some of them Spanish, and in this case, particularly in this case, I think he's very close to Luis Buñuel. For me, the atmospheric world of Viridiana is very close to what he has done in this movie. This kind of oppressive, overpowered characters that are actually eating each other, and especially one of them, the character that I play in this movie, I think is very, very close to some of the characters that I have seen with Luis Buñuel. But definitely, Almodovar makes references to many other styles and genres, directors, and that creates his own genre, in a way. This is eclecticism. In a way, directors with such a strong personality as Almodovar, they are a genre in themselves. They are.
Yes.
It's just them. The personality is so strong that it's very difficult to actually compare fully with some others, because he takes references to many different directors
This character that you play is a bit of a monster. So when I hear actors talk about playing quote unquote a monster or a character like that, they always say that it's important to find an empathy with that character, to get into it. What was your path into that character?
Well, though I may have had reasons to do so, because the character is coming with a backpack filled with tragedies. Mm-hmm. And that is a very easy way to empathize with the character. I mean, my wife died horribly. My daughter is in a mental institution. You start feeling for the character at the beginning of the movie when we know a little bit of his story. What I try to do is actually detach from him. I couldn't establish a morality judgment of the character, because I realized very early on the rehearsal period that it was just too heavy on my shoulders to be carrying that during the whole process of making the movie. So what I try to do is just to compartment the character and try to make him almost like a family doctor. Basically, because what Almodovar asked me to do, he never wanted me to commend the character with the audience. He never wanted me to wink an eye to the audience saying I am the bad guy. And he wanted because this character thinks that what he's doing is no punishable. It's not against nothing. He thinks that what he's doing is absolutely natural, and in fact, the subject of his experimentation, he thinks, should be very thankful to him, because I am making her a better person than she was. Mm-hmm. That is the size of his ego and his mental game to play God. So what I did is just to be very specific in the days that we were working and try to establish almost like a puzzle that I didn't have to put together. I was just providing Pedro with pieces of the puzzle, and he was the one who was putting it together. And right. The narrative was in his hands. So, for example, the scene that I do with the dildos, right? Mm-hmm. For me, that scene is like I am prescribing pills to somebody. I was trying to get away from the fact of what I am doing may be funny, may be scary, maybe both at the same time. No. I'm a doctor who is telling you to take 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 3 at night with a glass of milk, and in 3 months you're going to be perfect. And that's it. That's what I was trying to do during the whole entire movie, just giving him this type of pieces of a puzzle that actually at the end he got to put together.
When you're doing that, when you're putting together, when you're giving him the pieces and he's going to put it together in editing or in the final product.
Right.
When you see the final film,
yeah,
being so intimately involved in the process of making it, did it still surprise you? What surprised you about it?
It did surprise me. It really did, and I was very thankful, actually, to Pedro's directions, because in a way, when I see the whole thing put together, and I repeat this again and again, you may like it or not, whatever. But for me, personally, I knew myself. I saw myself playing something that I didn't play before. It's almost like Pedro made me play a note, that I didn't even know I had. And it was that kind of weird reaction, saying, "Oh my God, it's so cold with what he's doing. What he's doing when you see the whole entire movie together is monstrous, But I wasn't conscious of that monstrosity when I was working because of the specificity in which I was doing it. When you see the whole thing put together, it produced a very strong effect on me because you see that the character becomes almost like a wide screen in which you can write any fear that you have as a spectator can be just put in there. And I wasn't conscious of that at the beginning. It's absolutely unexpected, unreadable. When you're watching the character, you don't know what is going to be the next step that he's going to take. Undetectable in his psychology, and that creates. It's very chilly, in a way. But it's built, as I said to you, it was built. It was not built with the overall of the movie in my head all the time, and this is where I am going. But just putting together pieces.